Great good morning, everyone. It is a beautiful Tuesday, September 23rd, year of our Lord 2025. I look at my Cordaro jeweler's watch and it says 9:14 and change. This is the Bob Cordaro Show. I am he. Broadcasting today from the United States of America. I can prove it because they're telling us drugs are bad for us, even if those companies contribute millions to politicians. It's also the place where the brave, like the veterans we salute today, thanks to our man John Basiliga and his great family of companies, like Carl Evans, Scranton, Thomas Carlucci, Dunmore, and Jack Dietz, Dunmore. We'll have family members of each calling in today. The United States of America, founded with a certain knowledge and understanding by our incredible founding fathers that government is not, shall not be, cannot be our parent, our guide, our salvation, our direction. Not any of these things, but is nothing more than a necessary evil we require to organize and protect society. The United States of America, the country where, for the first time in human history, freedom was declared to be an unalienable right granted to each individual by God. Freedom was not something that could be parceled out to groups. It was not something that could be controlled by government or government officials, because our great American Constitution ensures and codifies freedom of speech, freedom of religion, freedom of association, economic freedom, and freedom of the press. We don't care what they do with it. We know better. We're on to their act now. Well, now armed with these freedoms, and only because they had them, a simple ragtag bunch of immigrants, rejects, and their progeny created the richest, most powerful, most culturally diverse and accepting nation ever to grace our planet Earth. America, the only place specifically invented and designed so that every American can live their life in the manner they choose, unlimited by their background, upbringing, race, color, or creed, unhindered by the government or those who would use government to control others for their own comfort, benefit, or power. And so, we gavel to order this meeting of the Club for Common Sense, promising you that because of our commitment to common sense, we will provide a sanctuary of sanity for all of you. So Jimmy Kimmel will be on tonight. I played that little first. You got to do Red Skelton once in a while. I loved once a week or so to play If I Were the Devil, but it's copyrighted or something. They said, no, you can't use it. So the Red Skelton thing, you think of how quaint it is. It was done. I used to watch his show as a little kid. But how quaint it is. 48 states at the time he did it. And patriotism and love of the flag and saluting the flag were just quaint. No, they were the way life was lived. They were accepted realities, not by the new gang. And so we like to play it once in a while. But then we played that montage of left-wing lunatics. Oh, they're ecstatic with someone getting canceled. But when it's one of their own, they cry like little babies. That's what they do. Oh, freedom of speech is on the line. Did you hear any one of them talking about freedom of speech? Did anybody talk about the First Amendment when they were cutting Trump off or firing Tucker Carlson? Unbelievable. I've got to tell you, it's sad. Now Sinclair, and I have not looked into how many state ABC affiliates they have. They've got a ton of stations. I wish Nexstar had hung in there. Sinclair is not going to air Jimmy Kimmel tonight until he gives an apology. And we'll see what he does tonight. So you have a guy when it comes a talented comedian. You look at Robert De Niro, talented actor, and then they get Trump derangement syndrome, and they become insane people. And this clown Kimmel, he just wasn't funny anymore. And his ratings dropped like a rock, and I'm sure he'll have a little surge this week or tonight just to see what he's going to do. But it's crazy. Like, you're not funny anymore. Your hatred is destroying whatever comedic talent you had, which I thought was considerable. And so nobody's watching anymore. Greg Gutfeld's on cable blowing them all away because it's a funny, light, normal show. They make fun of everybody. Yeah, there's a conservative bent, which thank God for that. But even if there wasn't, they're doing it from a place of joy, a place of happiness. Crazy stuff. So I don't. I look at it and I say, power to you. I don't care if you don't make your $20 million a year. I don't care if you make your $20 million a year. That's a business decision by ABC. But by the way, will any of the liars who were talking about the Trump administration shutting Jimmy Kimmel down, will any of those liars who lie about everything, any of them, say, oh, yeah, we were wrong about that? Obviously, it wasn't the FCC that shut them down, shut the show down, because otherwise he couldn't be on later, 1 week later. So the liars have lied again. How many times do you do this with them, you Democrat voters? How many times? Left-wingers. How many times? Good conscience liberals. How many times do you believe the lies? Trump's evil, he's Hitler, he shut down Jimmy Kimmel, the First Amendment, and they're out there protesting like idiots. It's crazy. And then when it turns nothing to see here. I'm telling you, whew, these are people who need help. I don't know who needs more help, the people who continually lie about Trump, about what reality is, about what the facts are, what the truth is. Like, okay, we're mad at ABC for canceling Jimmy Kimmel because he's a liberal icon and he always carries our water. But nobody watches him anymore. So you're required, ABC, you're required, CBS, to spend $100 million, massive staffs for shows that have virtually nobody watching them, and you're required to lose money. Now, you're talking about one of the most woke corporations on the planet, Disney, and they couldn't take it. So let's see how it plays out. His deal is up at the end of this year. So what do they, do they renew him? Do they offer a massive pay cut? Or do they say, we want to be popular at the cocktail parties we go to. We want everybody to think Disney's totally woke. So we'll pay them and we'll lose money on the show. And we'll let them not be funny. And all that goes with it. Yeah. Somebody says, I'm waiting for all the liberals who canceled their Disney and Hulu in support of Kimmel to start crying because their introductory rate for Surface was forfeited when they canceled, and now they've got to pay full price. I know. Oh, somebody texted in, I guess Trump hired Jimmy Kimmel back. Yeah, right? Unbelievable. It's what we deal with. Well, so much to talk about today. We've got to take a break now. Bob Cordaro, WILK, will return after our great messages. A little history, a little music, and then you, 570-883-0098. Buddy Holly and the Crickets. Murph says this was their only number one hit. That'll be the day, September 23rd, 1957. So I sent the Bulldog on a mission yesterday. Oh, and before that, the Checker speech. Famous. Richard Nixon saved him as the vice presidential candidate. Nixon was, you have to understand, Nixon was the Trump of his day. Hated and despised by the establishment and the glitterati, the left. Hated passionately. And again, it was Trump. What you're watching with Trump was what they did to Nixon. And somehow he kept surviving and coming back and all that. But that was 1952 running with Ike. And, of course, he became the VP for 8 years. Now, my man Mark from Hazelton wants to remind me, the Bloomsburg Fair is going on. It's the 19th to the 27th, so it's running through this weekend. I don't know if I'm going to get there. My buddy Jimmy Gallagher and I go every year. He used to display cows there. And I love it. I'm hoping I could get to the Bloomsburg Fair. But for those of you who haven't been there, it's pretty neat. It really is. I like it. And by the way, I get hives. Because anything that feels like I'm campaigning again, I get hives. I really do. But this one, no, doesn't feel. It just feels great to be there with great, normal American people. There is nothing like the Bloomsburg Fair. I absolutely love it. So thanks, Mark, for reminding me. And he also sent a quote from Bruce Springsteen that Springsteen, obviously, whose birthday it is, I guess, today, hasn't listened to. Blind faith in your leaders or in anything will get you killed. Yeah, Bruce. And here you are, the original Bloom Fair guy. You know, you believe anything the left says, anything they invent. You probably believe that Trump got Kimmel fired, and now what do you say? Or you just ignore it. Oh, Trump got him fired. Oh, now we got him rehired. Isn't that interesting? I'm telling you, crazy people. Yeah, and I had back and forth with Chris Kelly yesterday from the Scranton Times. I'm telling you, it was so absurd. I'll if I get a chance to get to it today. And the only reason I get to it is not to pick on Chris Kelly. He's helpless. But it shows the childish, complete immaturity of those with this left ideology. Crazy stuff. Somebody takes it. I've gone about 40 years, all my adult life, and from memory, I think I only missed one Bloomsburg Fair. Well, don't miss this one. They're great. I'm telling you, go to. You got to go there to be with real people. You know, when you're in the media as it is consistent today, it's total insanity. And here's normal people. And they love conservative values. They love America. And they don't want to be bothered with politics, by and large. Now, those are the people we need to get out to vote like this fall. You've got to get out to vote. That's all we ask. In Charlie Kirk's name, in Trump's name, whoever. In the name of your love for this country, you've got to get out and vote against these lunatics. Just please do it. All right, we'll take a break. Bob Cordaro, WILK. We'll come back with our first Veterans Tribute after this. Our veterans this hour and every hour, this day and every day, brought to you by our man John Basiliga and his family of fine companies, including Serenity Care. Serenity Care is senior care in Mid-Valley, Old Forge, Wyoming, and Kingston. Dementia units in Mid-Valley and Kingston, all completely renovated, beautiful. The gold standard in senior care in Northeast Pennsylvania, Serenity Care. We honor this hour Carl Evans. He passed away at age 92 last March 19th, 2024. His nickname was Cactus Carl. Carl was born, raised, and lived most of his life in Scranton, residing primarily in Southside, the East Mountain sections of the city. Graduate of the great Scranton Technical High School. He was a proud veteran of the United States Army, having served us during the Korean War, where he achieved the rank of sergeant. No small feat. Carl was co-owner of Montclair Motors, Scranton, Montclair Summit Motors, Clark Summit, and then, of course, had his own Carl Evans Auto Sales, North Washington Avenue in Scranton. He was a car salesman and proud to be for over 50 years. He sold thousands. I would have said millions. And even as he retired, he continued to pass out his Cactus Carl business cards. I am a proud holder of a Cactus Carl business card. Co-founder of the Corvette Club of Northeast Pennsylvania. And he had a 1995 Corvette pace car to the day of his passing. He's survived by his children, daughter, sons, 9 grandchildren, 14 great-grandchildren. Preceded in death by his former wife, Isabel Evans. Survived by other family members as well. Carl Evans. Well, my friend Wayne Evans, the former mayor of Scranton, happens to be one of those descendants, and he's with us. Wayne, welcome to the Bob Cordaro Show. How are you, my friend?
Thank you, Bob. Great to be here. I'll tell you, that was a great introduction.
I loved your father. He was such a character.
I know, but you really captured him, and he'd be very, very happy to listen to that. He'd be smiling right now. I'm telling you, he'd be smiling from above listening to that. He was a bit of a showman, and as you know, and
yes.
and we laugh about his card everywhere he went. He passed out his card.
Yep.
Even at his funeral service, we made sure that everybody got a card as he entered the church. He was something.
He was great. I see even the picture in the obituary, and I smile.
Yeah.
He just made me smile or laugh every time I saw him.
I know, good man, and he was he was a people person, and he was in the right business to be a people person for all those years. But he was really, really proud of his military service. He was. We put up a banner up for him up right by my real estate office in Southside. I didn't tell him I was doing it. I told him to stop down the office one day, and I said, "Let's go on the porch." And I showed it to him, and it was
he must
very emotional. Yeah, he loved it. He loved it. He loved it. Yeah.
Wayne, he got to see you be the mayor of Scranton.
Yeah, one of the most important days of his life. So we were at City Hall. I was taking the oath in council chambers. Another great veteran, Tom Munley, gave me the oath to be mayor. Very proud that Tom was able to do that. My dad was there. Everybody was there. So as custom, I gave a little speech in front of the people. They were in attendance, and it happened to be my father's 87th birthday.
No kidding.
Yep. So the last thing I said was, can we sing happy birthday to Carl? And we all did, maybe 100 people and crowded into council chambers. And he was beaming. That was a big, big day for him. Yeah,
because he loved Scranton. He loved the city. He really did.
Yep. Until the day he died, by the way, he was a lifelong Republican. Just so you know.
How about that?
Yeah.
Well, I represented Montclair Motors, Wayne, and so I got to have a lot of fun interaction with him.
Oh, God, I'm telling you.
Oh, boy, it was great.
They were the glory days. I'm telling you. I tell my kids all the time. I have one communications major and one journalism major. And I said, you guys have to sit down with your grandfather, and it's obviously too late now, but and listen to his stories and write this down. This is a book.
Yeah.
Because in the 50s and 60s, the car business in Scranton was like the wild, wild west. It was just something else.
I got a kick out of it. They used to call it the Avenue.
The Avenue, yeah, absolutely. The Avenue. That's exactly right. I haven't heard that in a long time, but you're exactly right.
Well, I used to sit as a young lawyer, and I can't remember if it was Al Dante or whoever, which one of the three of the partners hired me. And I would go to meetings at Montclair Motors. I just loved them, and your father was funny.
Oh God, yeah, I'm telling you, they were. It was Al, Dante, and Joe Emmy, and then my dad. That's the three of them. What a triad! It was just something.
Joe Emmy was
something
the prince.
To behold.
And
the prince.
Three.
And they called Al. Yeah, they called Al the Whip. Because he was the guy that wrote Herd on the finances and the office.
Oh man!
And all the other characters, Honest Chet Guy, Wild Bill, Chick Peters. Oh, unbelievable!
Great stuff. They were car guys.
Yeah,
man, a different era, and one that anybody who had a chance to experience it with people like your father, Carl Evans. You'll never forget it. They'll never forget it.
I know, and I do. I still have people come up to me to this day. Say, "Oh, I saw your father. He gave me a card." This goes back 5 years. And they're still coming up to me now and saying, "Hey, I got your father's card."
Yeah.
I mean, it's amazing.
I treasure mine. I treasure mine, Wayne.
and that's how he felt. I mean, he deep down felt like everybody wanted his card, so that's why he gave it out.
Well, he was right.
He was right. Oh, it was so funny. And I'd be with him sometimes, and I said, "Dad, you already gave him a card." Yeah, but they could always use another one. You know?
Great stuff.
Yeah, he lived a great life, and he was, like as mentioned before, very proud of his service. And I have to tell you, this is a wonderful thing that you do, and it's great that John Bassaliga sponsors this segment because I know John feels the same way, and it's it's a wonderful thing. Wonderful thing.
Well, Wayne Evans, thank you so much. You're as of now, you're still my mayor, just so you know.
I appreciate that, Bob. Right. I appreciate it. Always a pleasure, buddy.
Wayne Evans, our honoree, Cactus Carl Evans, his dad. Much appreciated, Wayne.
Always. Thank you for calling. Thanks, Bob. Appreciate it.
Our Veterans Tribute, beyond touching, beyond personal today, brought to you by John Bassaliga and Serenity Care, the personal care community, better than all, the standard to go for. The Box Tops. Murph tells us this date, 1967. They had the number one hit with that great song, The Letter. Bob Cordaro back with you on WILK. We're live streaming. You go to WILKnewsradio.com on your computer, and you have to find it on your phone. You press watch, and you can see my smiling, sometimes scowling moon face. And see what, I don't know. I mean, there's not much to see, but I'm here. In any event, let's go right to the blower because we'll run out of time otherwise. Bill from Pittston, how are you, Bill?
I'm doing well. I was just wondering, have you heard about that shooter in Sacramento?
Yes.
He was a former Democrat lobbyist, and allegedly he was upset about Kimmel being canceled, but he also had Patel, Bogino, and Bondi on his list. They found it on a note on his refrigerator.
Listen, mental illness leads to acts of mental illness. And being a left-wing lunatic, you're just a step away. Wow.
And one other thing,
and by the way,
not be named.
Bill, you heard what I was saying earlier. I hope. Are they now thanking Trump for putting Kimmel back on the air since he was supposedly the one that fired him? You know?
Yeah, exactly.
Or did they just forget the lie? They just forgot another lie.
One other thing, he who should not be named, Chris Kelly, don't give him a platform. He doesn't deserve it.
Well,
that's just my opinion.
The conversation via email with him was so, I guess, predictable. He says, no, here's what he says, because I said, I don't have people in the studio. It's very rare unless they're already here because it interferes with the show. It really does. Like, I'm doing things during the commercial. Anyway, he says, no, in studio, face-to-face, or not at all. I'm calling you out. It's long overdue. Although he never listens to the show, but it's long overdue. Your choice, make it. It's like a child with like cap guns and like, let's have a show down at the OK Corral. And I'm like, I don't think we need to spread your mental illness, but you're welcome to call in anytime. And that's how I left it.
Yeah, that's the right way. You know, I mean, he's dictating terms to you, and it's your show. I mean,
well, I said to him at one point in the email chain, I said, all right, so I get to come in and write your column? You let me do that, you're in the studio, baby. It was really, unfortunately, typical. But yeah, he needs help. There's no doubt about it.
Well, keep up the good work, Bob. You're terrific.
Always a pleasure, Bill. Thank you, my friend. Yeah, Bill's slogging his way through that Kamala Harris book, and he's been kind enough to give me his hand-me-downs. So it should be amusing. She's doing, I guess, some kind of book tour, but she's scorched everybody. Remember, these are left-wing lunatics. They are beyond touchy. You say anything about them, and by the way, it's Kamala Harris, so her view of things could be so distorted that some of the stuff could be just made up. It really could be. She's just, again, she's a classic leftist. She's on another astral plane. She's not in our realm of reality, and it's just hard to have that conversation. So who knows what her deal is? Hey, quickly, because we got to go to the news. Mother Teresa, September 23rd. She says, money, I never give it a thought. It always comes. We work for Jesus. It is his work, and he will provide. He has always taken care of us. If he wants something to be done, he will give us the means. If he does not provide us with the means, then it shows that he doesn't want that particular work. So I forget about money. Mother Teresa for today. Thank you, Mary Regina. I got to be with her on Saturday, hanging around with her and Bob and a great gang at the. There's an event the Perry family has for their brother who was killed in an accident. We were trying to figure it out about 25 years ago, Tommy Perry. So we were at that golf tournament up the Marjan over the weekend. A great, great event. Great time had by all. Good stuff. Hard to believe a young, vital guy like him is gone that long, though. Tough stuff. All right. My Picardo Jewelers watch. And remember, I've got a Picardo's watch. You can see it on live stream. But they sell Raymond Weil, Breitling, Oris, Longines, Michelle, Shinola, Luminox, Swiss Army, Seiko, Tory Burch, Victorinox, and more. Picardo Jewelers, your watch store right on Jefferson Avenue and Spruce Street in downtown Scranton, catty corner from the Radisson. We'll be back. Great good morning, everyone. 10:09 a.m. and change here in the great Northeast. That's what my Cordaro Jeweler's watch tells me. And it is a beautiful Tuesday, September 23, 2025. This is the Bob Cordaro Show. I am he, and it's a big day to fight for America, defend our values, and with the help of our man, John Basiliga, featuring one of his great companies today, Serenity Care, to honor the brave who have made us and kept us free. Veterans we've lost, but celebrate today like Cactus Carl Evans, Thomas Moose Carlucci Dunmore, and John Jack Dietz Dunmore. So with history, our great founding fathers, and the incomparable Constitution of the United States of America as our guides, let us continue today's battle. Gaveling to order this meeting of the Club for Common Sense, promising you a sanctuary of sanity for the balance of the morning. A much-needed one. By the way, Donald Trump speaking to the UN General Assembly, and his speeches, especially to groups like this. Now, these are group thinkers. They're, by and large, socialists. So that means they're dumb. It's just what is. And so he's got to tell them the truth, which will be very offensive to their childish ears. And he just does it. It's hilarious. And yet, the United States is the big dog. I mean, we almost lost it with Joe Biden. But fortunately, Trump will tell him like it is today. We played a little Jimmy Kimmel, his unfunny monologue regarding Tucker Carlson losing his job. Now, this is the same guy screaming and crying like a little baby because he got canceled for lying for a week. These people are incredible. They're all the same. It's a childish. It really is. It's a child's group. They're a group of children, stunted emotions. They want what they want now. Oh, Lord. So, somebody pointing out Kamala Harris in her book. What is this? They say Kamala Harris, total fraud. Yeah. She promotes gay rights, and she's all for gay rights, but she couldn't put the gay man on the ticket. Yeah. But you know what I love about that more than anything? It not only shows she's a fraud, but it shows that Rip Taylor was not even her second choice to be VP. This total silence from him on the Kamala Harris book as he's so he's gone. Just threw him aside. And yes, if you're gay, you need not apply for the vice presidency with Kamala Harris. Now, by the way, if you're gay and you're qualified, like Rick Grinnell, and even more famously at this point, our Secretary of Treasury, Scott Bassett, you're in. He doesn't care. Do you see this? Seriously. She openly, and again, she's just, I said this during the campaign. There was a little rain last night, and Chauncey wanted to go out at 4 o'clock in the morning, but I saw puddles in front of the house deeper than Kamala Harris. And she's proved it again. I mean, she's selling out. She not only sold out stupid Rip Taylor, the confetti-carrying governor of Minnesota, But she sold out the gay community. She sold out Pete Buttigieg, who, by the way, his only qualification is that he's gay. He's a horrible, disgraceful Secretary of Transportation, a below mediocre mayor. They're just like our mayor in Scranton. If the left-wing lunatic agenda is more important to you than the people you represent, you're going to suck. And Pete did, and so does Mayor Cognetti. Awful. So it's really something. Somebody asked me, Bob, your thoughts on the Tylenol press conference yesterday, LTS. Trump has this habit of overpromising and underdelivering. And I don't know if RFK Jr. has fallen into the habit, but he said, I heard him with his own lips. I mean, Trump oversold this event, but RFK oversold it himself. He said, we're going to disclose the reason for autism within 6 months. 6 months ago. And I'm thinking to myself, it's a really complicated subject. It's a really complicated analysis. You're not going to give us the reason for autism in 6 months because there isn't one reason. So they pointed out something heretofore hadn't been mentioned. Tylenol for pregnant women. But they oversold it. I mean, that's a courageous thing to go up against Big Pharma with one of the biggest over-the-counter drugs in the world, Tylenol. But they did not pinpoint the causes of autism. Why did you sell it that way? I don't know why. But look, they're punching, they're doing things, they're taking action. They're not worrying about political correctness. They're not worrying about the establishment, both in Health and Human Services and in the drug pharma industry. So all kudos from me. Just don't oversell it. That's all. Like, you think of anything that the Democrats are using against Trump. Because he said he'd solve the war in, what did he say, before I'm even sworn in Ukraine. Well, he didn't. Now, he's made more efforts. He's made the only real efforts, and he is very accurate that it would not have happened if he was president. But don't overpromise and underdeliver, because it gives fodder to the enemy. And they are the enemy, by the way, of the country and of the current administration. There are very few. In fact, I haven't seen them. I'm waiting. Well, I shouldn't say. There are very few, but one of them I will say is Harold Ford Jr. I watch him on the 5 on occasion. And he'll actually say Trump did something right when he did something right. He'll disagree in good conscience, not reflexively, not stupidly, not ignorantly. But there's very few on the Democrat side that do that. I haven't seen them. Somebody said, I'm not a doctor, but I've seen an actor portray one on TV. What if the increase in autism is related to the increase in consumption of artificial food items? Sort of like the Joker products in the Tim Burton Batman movie. Yeah, the first Batman. Items used by themselves are harmless, but combining 2 or more could have a deleterious effect. Food dye, artificial sweetener, imitation meats, imitation fats, Tylenol, and other drugs. who have side effects as long as your arm, which are being distributed. That's an extremely good point. And it is a part of the point I was making. This scourge of autism in America is a very complicated issue. And Tylenol ain't the answer. It's one of, and maybe a portion of the answer, and I'll trust them on that. But this great listener is exactly right. And that's an interesting thought. Just like the Joker products in the original Batman movie, the Jack Nicholson one, the combination of these could be the issue. Now, is it a self-fulfilling issue that once, and I don't know this either, and this is a question should be asked, is a family that has now experienced autism, is autism now in the gene pool? I don't know. Asperger's, you name it. So it's a really interesting question, but I like the thought that items used by themselves are harmless, but combining two or more, which we are all exposed to, could be the problem. Well, the good news on answering that is that RFK is going after all of it, and Trump is allowing him to do it. And we may find a reversal of some very dangerous trends regarding not just autism, but chronic illness as a whole, obesity, and low birth rates. Maybe all of these can be answered by restricting or ending the use of all these things. But I like your theory. I like it a lot. Joker products. I remember it well from the movie. We'll take a break, though. Bob Cordaro, WILK, will return. The association, Murph says this date, 1967, they moved up from number 15 to number 5 with that great hit, Never My Love. And the Jetsons, who watched that growing up? I did. And I expected us, 2025? I figured we'd be going around in those Jetson mobiles. We're not. I like my car. I like Big Lou, so that's okay. But it was funny. And the thing they didn't mention in the opening was Astro. Astro was the best part of the show, I thought, but very funny. Mr. Spacely. It was very much like the Flintstones in a way, although George Jetson wasn't yelling and screaming. So people say, well, why do you not want to have people in the studio? And why do I seldom do this? Just for example, so I got to do my push-ups in the commercial, and then my parish on Instagram, St. Anthony's, St. Rocco's, St. Mary's, they posted something I prayed in prison an awful lot, a prayer to Padre Pio. So I got to do the Padre Pio prayer. I think that's better than looking at Chris Kelly's face. I just do. That's me. So I don't know. Oh, Lord. I mean, the childish brain of the left-winger. It really, I think at some point it's going to be analyzed. The lack of self-awareness, the fact they're divorced from reality, that they hate truth, they change facts. None of it works for them. Somebody texts in, Bob, Tim Walz is running for a third term for governor of Minnesota. His new advertisements, he's driving around Minnesota as a conservative with a 90s model SUV, no more tampons in the boys' locker room. These people are so fake and disingenuous, don't fall for their scams. And it's all a scam for them. You are people to be hoodwinked. And the Democrat voters, I say to them, you're going to vote for Tim Walz. He's been an awful governor. He's made a fool out of Minnesota. He's hurt the state. And he's a left-wing loony and a disingenuous phony. But that aside, he's all right. You know. Whew. Bob, I was watching a national desk news show, and they were doing a story about lead and other contaminants that baby food companies have in baby foods, which can affect the brain function, says Chuck from Carbondale. I know it. So, I think the press conference yesterday was another step in the right direction, which they've been taking. Let's just not make it more simple than it is. And it's a generational effort. It's not just going to happen. Now, I just had a grandchild. You want to use the old days used to count fingers and toes. You got to be worried about a whole range of things now because of all this crap in the food system, in our water, in our medicines, these series of shots which have things like tin and aluminum in them. Somebody says, Bob, I also see an awful lot of kids constantly on antibiotics. Not a good deal. I agree. If a child's a daydreamer in school, they have ADHD. Well, dear Lord, I had it. Is that the... I remember one episode of The Sopranos. The guy with the school psychologist, he's analyzing the kid, and he goes, he fidgets. He fidgets. Oh, that's a symptom of something. I'm telling you. Somebody asked, did you talk about Chris Kelly yet? Did I miss it? Well, we were back and forth, and I'm telling you, he's delusional and childish, as we knew. And I offered to have him on at a set time on Wednesday. You know, he gave me all these deadlines and ultimatums. He could call in. And I said, it's not going to be a debate. Tell me what you want to talk about. And then you could have your piece and I'll say mine. That's the way the show works. But no, he had to be in the studio, face to face, man, mano y mano. I guess he was going to bring in a cap gun. We were going to have a, shoot him up with cap guns or something. It was so childish, I didn't even know how to respond. So I said, you write a spitty column for a spitty newspaper, and you're going to dictate when and how you come on the show when you're the one that asked to be on. I said, I don't do in person. It's very seldom. It interferes with the program. I do things during the commercials. Now I got to greet you. I got to welcome you in. You come in, and you're sitting here while I'm doing stuff on the commercial. It just doesn't work right. I don't like it. I learned this from Imus. So, no, it's apparently not going to happen, but he has an open invitation. Chris Kelly has an open invitation to come on the air, either scheduled or unscheduled. And by the way, I believe he lied to me. I had written to him, emailed him about a veteran by the name of Plevyak that he had written a great column about. I had complimented him on the column, and he claims he never saw it. Well, it was in our chain. It was in the email chain when he started emailing me. So how did you not see it? Anyway, it's just, you know what? You go down that rabbit hole with someone who's senseless. And, the old Mark Twain, be careful to argue with a fool, lest people passing by don't know the difference. I don't know. Somebody says original McDonald's French fries, 3 ingredients. Now they have 16. I know it. Bob Tim Walls has a pro-transgender agenda for our society that no normal person wants, yet has the audacity to run as a family values centrist conservative. Why not run? And I agree. Why not run on your transgender agenda? Why not run on your abortion after birth agenda? Why don't we do that? No, they can't. By the way, that's why as vapid, as shallow, as dumb as she is, AOC at least says she's a socialist and talks about it. Bernie Sanders, as dumb and crazy as he is, as ignorant of history as he is, he at least, other than his own life, by the way, same thing with AOC, other than their own lives, they try to live, they try to at least pursue their insane theories about communism. Let's call it what it is. All right, we're over. Bob Cordaro, WILK. We're going to take a break. We're going to come back. Tom Carlucci. He's the guy we're going to honor. We'll be back after this. Our veterans this hour and every hour, this day and every day, brought to you by John Basiliga and his great family of companies, today featuring Serenity Care. Homes for seniors with 4 locations, Mid-Valley, Old Forge, Wyoming, and Kingston, all of them completely remodeled and brand spanking new. The Mid-Valley and Kingston location have dementia units. The gold standard in senior care, Serenity Care. Thomas Carlucci. His nickname was Moose. He was just 72 when we lost him June 9th this year. He was born in Scranton, son of the late Mary T. and Leonard Spike Carlucci, my old buddy. He married Debbie Buck, and together they celebrated 46 loving years. He was a graduate of Dunmore High School. He excelled in football, track. Then he enlisted in the Army and became part of the 82nd Airborne Division during the Vietnam era. He later proudly served in the U.S. Army Reserves and the Pennsylvania National Guard. He provided technical assistance in support of Operation Desert Storm and its Operation Enduring Freedom, finally retiring from Tobyhanna Army Depot. And I remember him running to work at Tobyhanna Army Depot from Dunmore. He did embrace the outdoors, marathon, swimming, skiing, walking, all of that. Proud member of the American Legion, Knights of Columbus, Keystone Unico, and St. Paul's Parish. He's survived by his beloved wife, Deborah, the love of his life, his children, Michelle, Thomas, Nicholas, and 4 adored grandchildren. And I knew Moose Carlucci since we idolized him for Dunmore football. He was preceded in death by his siblings, Marion, Joey, Patricia, and many other family members who both survive and predeceased him. Thomas Moose Carlucci. And with us, his son, Tom. Tom, welcome to the Bob Cordaro Show. How are you?
Hey, I'm doing well, Bob. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
So happy that you're on to talk about Dad. I used to call him the knowledgeable one. The way he spoke, everything about him. He was just such a character, Tom.
Yeah, no, he was full of life. There's no doubt about that. I just heard you mention, about his times working at Tobyhanna Army Depot, and how I'd get up in the morning. I'd be like, hey, I'm hearing rustling at 3:30 in the morning. What's going on? I know he doesn't have work for another 3 hours. He's getting his bike ready, and he's about to, ride his bicycle from Dunmore to Tobyhanna for work that morning. I mean, his military regimen was entwined in his daily routines without a doubt. Looking back, as kids, we didn't really appreciate that much as it came to chores and stuff, but but for him, we're really grateful for the discipline and structure that the military, I think, instilled in him, and then he instilled in us. So, yeah, fantastic.
I enjoyed trading cigars and smoking cigars with Tommy, and I don't know, he just was full of life. And you can't behind family doors, but he was always happy and always upbeat. Literally every time I saw him, thousands of times.
Yeah, when I was thinking back, as a young teen causing trouble, he's only gotten upset with me a few times, rightfully so, I'm sure, at those points. But he didn't have a mean bone in his body, and when he retired from Tobyhanna Army Depot in the reserves, every day after that he spent volunteering, helping, and that was pretty much his motto. Spent every day at the church, as you mentioned before, Unico Keystone chapter, every single day of his retirement, where, I think most maybe wives and stuff would be like, get a job, or something like that. Yeah. But no, he dedicated all of his time to volunteering and helping others, and you didn't really catch him without a smile on his face or a cigar in his hand.
and died too young, only 72. When I think about that now, that is young.
Yeah, it was terribly young. He got diagnosed with primary progressive aphasia, very young at a young age. And as not many of us I think are familiar with that. One of the famous actors, Bruce Willis, got diagnosed with it. I think that's when it started to come to the forefront, and people started to understand what it was. But it just, progressively grew on him, and unfortunately, took his life way too early. It took those, he always had a smile on his face, even when he got diagnosed with it. But the conversations, his verbal capabilities and things like that kind of declined rapidly, quickly.
Yeah.
72, as you said, very, way too young.
Tommy, he must have been a great grandfather to have. The kids must have loved him.
Oh yeah, God, my sister's 4 kids. I mean, he did. He revolved his life around them as well. So every day he was at St. Mary's Mount Carmel Church in the morning, and he would in the summer come right over to my sister's house and spend time with the kids. So yeah, and now since his passing, there were certain things that kind of came out of the woodwork that we didn't really know or didn't talk about that often. And one of them was he was the president of the Veterans Council at Tobyhanna Army Depot when he first kind of joined the depot. And my nephew who is in just finished the boot camp in the Marines, is in infantry school right now in North Carolina. He emulated my father. He thought he thought the world of him. And I think, a lot of what my father's accomplishments were in military dedication, transferred over to my nephew. And, we couldn't be more excited to, watch him kind of follow in my father's footsteps.
I know this, as high school kids, let me say, we didn't fear him. We respected him greatly, not only for knowing how good he was at football and how tough he was, but for his military bearing, and we knew he was very capable of doing anything that the 82nd Airborne taught him, and really, really respected him. But he was always so nice.
Yeah, I know. Honestly, he really didn't have a mean bone in his body. And speaking of the 82nd Airborne, I was, reading an article back, when he just got out of it, and they mentioned that. So my father had he had, I think it was 62 jumps he had out of 82nd Airborne.
Wow.
And one of the jumps that he had, I think they coined it back then as they called it a May West, and it was where his chute didn't open up all the way, right? So there was about two to three bubbles on his chute, and he threw his reserve chute out, and that got caught in the bubble as well. So he miraculously, I think it was a less than 3% chance of anybody surviving that fall, and he did. And I think it was mainly because of the training and knowing how to limp, let your body go limp and all of that to, potentially survive. And luckily he did.
I will tell you, knowing your father, I don't think he would have had a moment of fear during the whole jump.
No, calm, cool, collective.
By the way, one of his teammates and classmates, truck sales guy, says, we were teammates and childhood buddies. There wasn't a more fit athlete. It was cruel what nature did to him. Yeah, because it stole his essence, and I know you guys had to go through that.
Yeah, when he got diagnosed and his speech became pretty null, he wasn't really speaking that much. He was still physically capable of doing a lot, to the point where we had to kind of observe and make sure that he was safe. But he'd still go to the YMCA. He'd be the first person there at the YMCA in Scranton. As soon as the doors open, he'd go and do his little jog and brisk walk for about an hour straight, and then go right over and swim. And I remember watching him. I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, I would have taken a heart attack already. I don't know how he got this energy still at 70 years old. It was miraculous.
Well, Tom Carlucci, we thank you for talking about your dad. We lost him too soon. Thomas Moose Carlucci, our veteran this hour. Thank you.
Thanks, Bob.
All right, my man. We'll take a break. Bob Cordaro, WILK. We'll return. Steppenwolf. They released their hit Magic Carpet Ride. This date, 1968. Wow. I've always think of this now. All right, so my father's 88 years old. So that's in 2025. That means 1937 he was born. So he is 31 years old at the time Steppenwolf releases this song. Weren't people so much more grown up back then? He had 3 kids. He had 3 kids in a business. And I'm thinking, I don't think he was a Steppenwolf fan. He stayed with, Sinatra and Louis Prima and all that. Fascinating. But at 31 years old, you could be a Steppenwolf fan. It's amazing the crossover of music in the 60s. And at a tender young age of 9 or 10, my friend Bill Janello had me up his house playing. And do you guys remember the record players where they would fold up and you could carry them? And then the speakers would either come out or unfold. Well, Billy Janello had the first one of those. And he had Steppenwolf. So we'd listen to songs like this on this record player. And so we got one at some point. I don't know if it was mine or everybody's. Because we did have the big console, which you weren't allowed to use. Not for rock music, that's for sure. And I got one of those. And the first album I bought was Steppenwolf Live because Bill Janello had acculturated me to that kind of music. Fascinating stuff. Amazing. How about that, though? I love when a family member could call in. I love when I know the veteran as well as the 3 veterans we're doing today. Jack Dietz is coming up next hour. It makes it that much more special. And to have their family members call in makes it even greater. It really does. Somebody texts in, Waltz is like Joe Biden is lying to get reelected. Biden ran as a pro-Catholic centrist man of faith from the blue-collar town of Scranton, PA. Yeah, he used us for his brand. And by the way, he was too dumb to do it. The Obama people created the brand for Joe Biden. He never talked about Scranton. And they said, wait a minute, Joe, here's your brand. Joe Biden, the scrappy working class guy from Scranton. That was our brand, not Joe Biden's brand. Joe had nothing to do with us. Anyway, the listener continues. Then he stabbed people with Catholic family values in the back and adopted a transgender agenda for America. Oh, by the way, and much more. Don't forget the perversion of Title IX. And all just sick. The open border, it was sick. It was depraved. His agenda was depraved. The listener continues, and all of this was despised by the vast majority of Americans. Now Joe Biden and Hunter wonder why they are ostracized everywhere they go, and both are hemorrhaging in debt. Don't forget him selling the country as vice president. They want you to ignore that. They want you to forget that. Joe Biden was scum, and now we have an expressway named after him, a street named after him. It's a disgrace. Absolute, abject disgrace. So if you go to Cordaro Jewelers, downtown Scranton, as you're coming in the expressway, which will go unnamed for the moment, the corner of Spruce Street and Jefferson Avenue, catty corner from the Radisson, and they've got Raymond Weil, Breitling, Oris, Longines, Michelle, Shinola, Luminox, Swiss Army, Seiko, Tory Burch, Victorinox, and more, and of course, my very own Picardo watch, which I love. And by the way, amazing jewelry store. So because it's the family's there, there's 2 generations in there, brothers, a son, a great gang. and they know their business. So they could be a watch store and a jewelry store simultaneously, and they are. You got to go see the place. Have a little cappuccino, have a coffee, have a cocktail. Stop at Picardo's. Well, my Picardo Jeweler's watch tells me it's 11:02 as I'm watching President Trump really drilling the fools at the UN. I just love it. We'll take a break. We'll be back after the news. Great good morning, everyone. 11:09 a.m. Let's call it 11:10 on my Picardo Jewelers watch. Here in the great Northeast, this beautiful Tuesday, September 23, 2025. My grandson, hopefully coming home today. And this is the Bob Cordaro Show. I am he. It's a big day to fight for America, defend our values, and with the help of our man, John Basiliga, to honor the brave who have made us and kept us free. People like the veterans we're saluting today because we lost them within the last year, like Cactus Carl Evans of Scranton, Thomas Moose Carlucci of Dunmore, and Jack Dietz of Dunmore. So with history, our great founding fathers, and the incomparable Constitution of the United States of America as our guides, let us continue today's battle. Gaveling back to order this meeting of the Club for Common Sense for another hour, promising a sanctuary of sanity for the balance of this morning, because that's what we do. That's what we do. Somebody texted, and I saw this text, and I didn't get a chance to talk about it. But somebody texted, and Bob, you and Chris Kelly, Mullins Field, after the show. Yeah, that was a place we used to, they used to fight. Good line. Hey, by the way, speaking, it reminds me of Dunmore. My friend Homer dropped me off. I've got a number. I've got now a long-sleeved DPW shirt. He dropped it off at the house, and I cannot wait to wear it. Now, Thursday's garbage day, so I'm either wearing it Thursday or Friday. I can't wait to wear it. I'm excited. So thank you, Homer. I appreciate it more than you could know, honest to God. But a family member wrote in this. Anecdotal, but very true. My wife cuts a young man's hair who was developing perfectly normal and starting to speak around the age of 2. He received whatever vaccines that you get at that time, was very sick for multiple days, and hasn't spoken a word since. Now in his mid-teens and starting to shave, he's completely autistic. God bless the parents. They definitely blame the vaccines. See, it's not anti-vax and it's not anti-science to question why do our kids have scheduled, 62 shots? How can that possibly be good for you? It can't. That's why by the way, one of the reasons Trump won the election was by bringing RFK on board. Because there's a number of young people and older people like myself who are like, this is not good. We're not headed in the right direction. We've got to start questioning everything. Imagine how difficult for that family. Essentially, your child stolen from you after they started out like normal children. Don't hesitate to ask questions. What are the ingredients in what you're giving my child? Number one. What are the side effects? Number two. What bad outcomes have you experienced with your patients, doctor? Those questions have to be answered to your satisfaction. What are the dangers of not getting the shot? What are we risking? And what dangers have you seen actually occur? These questions have to be asked. And by the way, a majority of children, a substantial majority of the children, no matter what we give them, they're gonna be fine. but a substantial minority of children will be affected one way or another negatively by all of these shots. And somebody's got to question it. I mean, are they going out at it 100% the right way? Probably not, but they're going at it. They're not ignoring it. They're not accepting standard bullspit. And thank God they're not. By the way, I'm reading the Scranton Rag. And page 2, there's a rally urging Northeast Pennsylvania lawmakers to keep health care affordable. So apparently 10 or so people, probably half of them paid. And by the way, if you're not getting paid to go to these protests, you're a real sucker. Because there's tax credits to help people pay premiums for private insurance. I don't necessarily disagree with that. What's the cost, all that kind of thing. But this is very important to point out. Here's the truth about health care costs. Obamacare, that everybody claims to love, all it really has turned out to be is another layer over Medicaid. That's what you're receiving, the vast majority of these people. So you're receiving Medicaid. Fine, if you deserve it, all good. If you get tax credits for private insurance, in my view, it should be deductible. But that aside, because of Obamacare, premiums for private insurance have gone up dramatically. Because of Obamacare, health care costs have gone up dramatically. And back to the insurance issue, the deductibles have gone up dramatically, all because of Obamacare, distorting health care insurance. And don't confuse health care with health insurance. Health insurance is how we pay for it. Health care is what is available. And it ain't abortion, by the way, on a side note. That's not health care. But please remember this. The government got involved with Medicare and Medicaid, and a healthy country became an unhealthy one. Please remember. Coincidence? Maybe. Causation? Maybe. But I will tell you, one thing that's been caused, healthcare costs going up, definitely the cause of government's involvement. And government's increased involvement through Obamacare has made everything more expensive, particularly health insurance. Period. Somebody texts in, speaking, and we're right on the subject here. Speaking of socialism and communism, Karl Marx, the author of Communist Manifesto, never worked a day in his life and was supported by his best friend, who was a capitalist, and his best friend's and his own mother. And he screwed everybody he dealt with. Seems fitting that the left idolizes him. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Unbelievable. Dear Lord. Chuck from Carbondale, Joe Biden was a so-called Catholic, but was all in on killing babies. All in, 100%. Somebody asked, they did have record players that went under your dash. I heard that, but I would have figured they would be skipping. Now, that was probably 50s era, because we had cassettes and 8-tracks by the time, we had 8-tracks by the time I was around. And Poet Joe talking in about that. Yeah, roll 8-track. You'd play the 8-track with or without rolling papers to even it out. Yeah. Somebody texted in. Isn't it being reported that Biden's now broke? How do you go from being president of the United States of America to being broke, flat broke in less than a year? Because he couldn't afford all the stuff that he had because he was doing it through corrupt money. The corrupt money stopped. He can't afford it anymore. Period. Done. No more corrupt money. No more corrupt beach houses and everything else. Yeah. If you pay $300,000 or anything, if you pay anything to hear Joe Biden speak, there's something wrong with you. If it's your own money, fine. But if it's the money of an organization, shame on you. He's a doddering, corrupt, disgusting, demented fool. Rich McHale says, Bob, yesterday I saw a Facebook reel that mentioned Obama was caught on a live mic saying in reference to Charlie Kirk, we got him. Do you believe the validity of such a reel? No, I really don't. Now, Rich believes Obama was the catalyst of all evil and his deprivation still exists. I don't see it that way at all. I really don't. I see Obama as an incredibly arrogant person who was a sub-mediocre president. But, the 8 years he was in office, they did a lot of damage, but they could have done a lot more. I mean, look at the insane amount of damage Joe Biden did in just 4 years with half a brain. So, Obama, mediocre. He's historic, but less than sub-mediocre. And he didn't pursue the whole lunatic agenda. But see, now he does, because that's how you stay popular. Because that whole crowd, the establishment, the left, the Democrat Party, they went hard left. So he's going hard left with them. So's an actual moderate Bill Clinton. They've gone hard left. That's where the money is. Yeah. All right. Somebody says the article I'm referring to, page 2. No, page 3. Page 2 is the good page. It's people in the community doing things. Page 2 is the only good page of the paper. Well, the obituaries, because the funeral home guys write those. So it's yeah. You could believe the obituaries. You could believe page 2. And you can believe the sports, by and large, although they've destroyed the sports in the paper. Anyway, we're going to take a break. Bob Cordaro, WILK. We'll be back. Mac Davis. Murph says he moved up to number 1 this date, 1972, with his hit Baby Don't Get Hooked on Me. And then, of course, 1976, U.S. televised presidential debate. It was the first time an incumbent president had ever debated. And it didn't work out well, but Gerald Ford made the one mistake, played over and over again, and we got stuck with Jimmy Carter. Bill, he would not have been an incredible president, but Gerald Ford would have been a good president, and we got stuck with Jimmy Carter instead because, again, a lot of his appeal was phony. Not a bad person or anything like that, but just incompetent, number 1, incapable of doing the job, number 2, by temperament and I don't want to say experience because he had enough experience, but mostly by temperament, incapable. And so we suffered through 4 years of complete mediocrity, questioning where this country was headed until Ronald Reagan came along and saved us. It's like Trump saving us from Obama and then from Joe Biden, except Joe Biden did substantially more damage than Jimmy Carter ever could. I've say it often. Joe Biden was a combination of incompetence and malice. He combined the worst of Lyndon Johnson and Jimmy Carter. We've never had a worse president. Never. Not even close. But in any event, they debated. And Gerald Ford said at the foreign policy component, they're under my administration, or words to that effect, there will be no Soviet domination of Poland. Well, you're about 8 or 10 years too early to make that statement, right? Yeah, and he did, and it probably cost him the election and stuck us with Jimmy Carter. So there you go. All right, we need to take a break. Bob Cordaro, WILK, lots of texts to get to, but we've got to hear from our great sponsors. We've got a Veterans Tribute coming up, and the weather maybe. It's not that important. You know that. Because all you got to is look outside, you'll know what it is. So we'll do that and more after this, The Bob Cordaro Show. Our Veterans Tribute this hour and every hour, this day and every day. Brought to you by our man and a true patriot, John Basiliga. And today we feature just one of his great companies, Serenity Care. Personal care for seniors in Mid-Valley, Old Forge, Wyoming, Kingston. Dementia care units in both Mid-Valley and Kingston locations. They have all been completely renovated, accepting new residents. John has a passion for providing the highest quality senior care in the area, and these beautiful personal care homes for seniors to live in set the standard for Northeast Pennsylvania. John Jack Dietz. We lost him March 16th this year. His wife, the former Dolores Godovan Dietz, passed away in 2011. What a sweet woman. The couple had been married 54 years at that time. Jack was born in 1935 in Scranton, educated in Scranton schools, and then he went into the banking industry where he worked for 42 years with Citizens Savings, where he moved up through the ranks, eventually serving as president and chief executive officer. I remember him taking me to his office one time. We had something going on with the Chamber of Commerce. And I was friends with his sons. And, no idea he was the president of a bank. So humble. In retirement, Jack volunteered his time with various groups, including St. Francis of Assisi Kitchen, Meals on Wheels, Hospice of the Sacred Heart, Habitat for Humanity, as well as the parish council at Our Lady of Mount Carmel, Dunmore. He attended Mass regularly at St. Paul's Church, his childhood parish. He served our country honorably in the United States Army. Surviving his son, his daughter, grandchildren, and many other relatives. Sadly, he was preceded in death by his beloved wife and his son, Thomas, and also his companion, Peggy Bolin, who added much joy to Jack's life. Jack Dietz. And with us, his son and my friend since we're about 8, Pat Dietz. Pat, how are you?
Good, Bob. How are you today? And thank you very much. I'm thrilled that you decided to honor my father today. I appreciate it very much.
He was a great guy, Pat. I mean, fathers have to be fathers to their kids, but he didn't have to discipline me, so he was always nice to me.
Well, he took it out on me.
He was a really humble guy. I knew him since we're about 8 years old. I had no idea he had become president of a bank until I got involved with the Chamber of Commerce with him.
Yeah, yep. He had a good run at Citizens, and they're still around, of course.
Yeah. So, Pat, you went into banking yourself following his path.
Yeah, I haven't been in banking as long as he has, Bob. I've only been in banking 45 years.
Hey, tell us, I mean, he was always around for you guys, always present, no matter what business obligations he had. He was just a good guy, Pat, wasn't he?
Yeah. I'll tell you, Bob. He, years ago, the women stayed home, but the guys would work 2 jobs, and he would be Mr. Banker by day, and he would work up at Penn State Worthington campus as a maintenance worker at night.
You're
so
kidding.
He could bring home a couple bucks. And, take us on vacation every year and do that kind of stuff.
Wow.
I'll have to tell you a story, though, Bob, from his military days.
I want to hear this. Pat. Go ahead.
And we talked about it briefly the other day, but he was stationed at Aberdeen Proving Grounds, which is along the Chesapeake in Maryland. It's still there. And he was down there in the early to mid-50s. And the group, or his platoon, was a mixed group of
of white and African American soldiers. And one Saturday night, they were all getting ready to go to the movies, and there was this one friend of his, and his name was Mo, and he said, "Mo, we're going to movies." And Mo's like, "You know what, Jack? I'm going to stick around tonight." He goes, I'm not going to go. And about 20 minutes before they're ready to leave, my father's like, "Mo, come on, get ready to go to the movies." And he said, "Jack, I'm just staying put on the base." About 5 minutes before they're ready to leave, my father's like, "Mo, will you please get ready to go?" He's like, "Jack, I can't go. There's no African American movies. It's for whites only. They won't let me in." So he was exposed to the Jim Crow laws, and that always stuck with him, how unfair that was. But he was living in that time period, and he told that story many times to say, hey, how far we've come and how lucky we were in the North, because I don't think we experienced that in the North.
Yeah. Although there was a great book called The Invisible Man by Ralph Ellison that spells it out for African Americans, for blacks in this country, even in the Northeast. But you're right. I mean, there wasn't that overt or systemic racism. But, man, he dealt with that in the military. And these are people serving our country, which makes it even more outrageous, even going back that far.
No doubt about it. And it stuck with him the rest of his life. Yep.
I learned a lot from that. Well, Patrick, I appreciate you calling in to talk about your dad, and particularly relating that story and that experience he had while in the military. We appreciate it so much. He's a great guy, and we all miss him.
It's always a pleasure, Bob, and thanks once again for honoring this day.
All right.
We'll talk to you soon.
Pat Dietz talking about his dad, Jack Dietz. We'll take a break. We'll be back. It's the Bob Cordaro Show. Well, it's 2:45 in the morning in Noumea, New Caledonia. That's according to our man Rick Bigelow. And, of course, 12:45 here. So thanks, Frank. Thanks, Gerard. Rick Bigelow, speaking of, he says Kirk in Gaelic, Scottish, and then English translate to church. It was originally co-opted from the Old Norse because the Norsemen, the Scandinavians, kept invading the Saxons. And that's the combination that led to Great Britain and its culture. So, yeah, Kirk in Gaelic, Scottish, and then English translate to church. Thank you, Rick. Always timely on all these things. HVAC guy says Obama wasn't really that bad compared to Biden. You added that. That's an important proviso, compared to Biden. He says he was anti-same-sex marriage. He held and detained dangerous illegal immigrants, sent a lot of military back to school to advance their future careers, worked with our intelligence community to take out Osama bin Laden. Don't agree with his more recent thoughts, ideas, and beliefs, which, by the way, you have to have. Remember, Obama is not a leader, even though he was a first. He wasn't a leader. He followed. He didn't have his own philosophy. He followed the philosophy at the time of the Democrat Party to become the president and stay the president. And he also has changed his attitude on a million things. He's moved hard left to continue to be accepted. So he molded himself to the day and time that he was in. And now he's unfortunately molding himself instead of leading, which, again, he was never a leader. But HVAC dude, you're right. Said I'd take him over Biden, Harris, and the other liberal bozos. Now, the problem is, if he had a chance to do what Biden did, he would do it only more smoothly, more dangerously. HVAC dude says he's independent voter leaning right. Well, there's no Democrats to vote for on the national scene, period. Somebody else pointing out if Ford hadn't had one, we probably wouldn't have had Reagan, and that's an important thought. You know, history is the way it is. It is. I don't know, something happened with my... somebody said, how bizarre is it that Charlie Kirk and George Floyd share the same birthday? What is it, October 14th or something? Yeah. Somebody says, Jimmy Carter was very smart. Nuclear engineering, nuclear submarine propulsion, says the Army trucker. Very smart. He was actually intelligent. But he was not a great leader, and he just had... I don't know, he had personal quirks that made him go it alone. But this is what describes Jimmy Carter for me. When he would pretend he was carrying his luggage onto Air Force One, first of all, you're making an ass out of the country. Our president doesn't carry his luggage. But it was empty. The suitcase was empty. So there was a lot of phoniness there. My Picardo Jewelers watch says 11:50. Well, he's not that bright, but I love his music because on this date, 1949, Bruce Springsteen, born Long Branch, New Jersey, born to run. He's one of those guys you just want to say, shut up and sing. You know, I don't think I'll go see Bruce. I got to see him. I think I've told you. I know I've told you. He played one song and no politics at a McCartney concert and in New Jersey. And I was like, it was great. I said, okay, good. I've heard him. Now I don't have to listen to the nonsense and the lies and the stupidity in order to endure that for his music. By the way, Nexstar is going to preempt Jimmy Kimmel also tonight. So Jimmy Kimmel has something riding on this evening because Sinclair, which operates 38 ABC affiliate stations, and Nexstar, which operates 28, are both boycotting until he appropriately apologizes for his lying, disgusting stupidity last Monday night. ABC can't have that. So maybe they ride it out if he continues to be an arrogant ass and doesn't apologize. They ride out the Kimmel show through the end of the year and just don't re-sign him. We'll see. And but that's that's a lot. By the way, on a note that I've been meaning to mention, because people have brought up the Democrat legislators in Minnesota getting slaughtered, and that the guy was supposedly a right-winger. By the way, a right-winger who was appointed at least twice to different positions by Governor Tim Walz, just so you know, just so it's balanced. And they got killed after they voted to not give Medicaid to illegal immigrants. But when they were killed, every Republican voted to condemn the killings and to honor them. When Charlie Kirk was assassinated, 95 Democrats voting no and present opposed the resolution. Whose side is the problem on? By the way, quickly as we do Ray Charles, because he was born Albany, Georgia, this date 1930. We lost him in 2004. America the Beautiful. Donald Trump had another tour de force in front of the UN. He talked about Christianity. He talked about Western values. He talked about the sickness and stupidity of mass migration and Green New Deal. He called it a scam right out, right in the faces of all of those fools. You got to love them. You got to love them. Amazing. Well, we're going to let Ray Charles take it out because it's one of the greatest songs ever. By the way, somebody texts in, Bob Rush Limbaugh always spoke about fathers he knew that had daughters in college or around others that would change long-held beliefs towards the left. Anyway, yeah. It's true. It's indoctrination. But the mission of Charlie Kirk goes on. They're already at the next event, and it's packed. So, good stuff. Hey, best of luck, Jimmy Kimmel. I don't know if you're capable, but I hope you do the right thing tonight and get your career back on track and try to be funny again. Not much to ask. So let's let Ray finish up because my Bicardo Jewelers watch says 11:58 and change. And actually it says 11:59 on the dot. We'll give you the last minute of Ray. But for now, we gavel to a close this meeting, the Club for Common Sense. God willing, I'll be with you tomorrow. Have a great afternoon. I'll let you know what my grandson looks like. And Sue Henry next. Have a good one.